You welcome back. Parliament has officially set up a committee that's supposed to probe the corruption scandal that was captured on video by journalist Anas Aremia Anas. Yesterday, many Ghanaians got the opportunity to watch how Ghanaian resources, one way or the other, run into systems of the Ghana Football Association have been depleted over the period, and officials have been corrupted by investigative journalists and his team, the Tiger IPI. Today, we're asking what next after this particular probe. But first and foremost, let's understand how this came about. So Joseph Opoku is parliamentary correspondent. He joins me with some details on this one. Joseph, so how did the parliamentarians finally agree to set up a committee to deal with this matter?
It started with a concern right on the floor by the Member of Parliament for the Boedi constituency, Samson Ahi, who indicated that from what has been seen in the video, it's something that's very damning for Ghana football. It's damaging to the nation's reputation. And so right on the floor, he made a call, first of all, for the resignation of Kwesi Nyantakyi as GFA president, and asked that they should be referred to Parliament's Youth and Sports Committee for them to look into this. He got the backing from the leadership of the minority bench, Muntaka Mubarak, who is the chief whip on the leadership bench at the minority side, indicated that he would rather prefer a special committee, a 7-member special committee, to look into this rather than the Youth and Sports Committee investigating, except that he felt the demand that Mr. Nyantakyi be made to resign be left at the level of the investigative committee when it comes to the recommendations that they would make in the end. There were comments as well from those on the majority side. Katie Hammond, who is the MP for Dansia Soka, equally raised concerns about how come Kwesi Nyantakyi is still holding on to his position, and demanded that Parliament as an institution makes an official call on him that he steps down. The majority leader, Osei Mensah-Bonsu, disagreed on that bit and said legally there is no basis for his Parliament would make such a call. They can only appeal to his conscience and see if he would buy into that and step down. But again, the majority leader disagreed virtually on the fundamental suggestion that a parliamentary committee be established to probe this. He said the GFA remains an independent business institution on its own, and so he didn't see the basis for which Parliament would want to set up a committee to probe the activities as captured in the video.
So if I understand you properly, it first of all started with a call for the resignation of the FA president, then it metamorphosed into a call for a probe, a bipartisan committee of a sort in Parliament to do the probe itself. Then there were disagreements over this particular matter. Did this sound to you like the MPs on both sides were whipped into line? There were clear-cut decisions on what they wanted to do right from the beginning?
Eventually, it was the Speaker's final decision that ruled in the end, that actually overcame all the others, because right on the majority side, as came up with the position of Katie Hammond, the Adansia Soko MP, and the majority leader, they disagreed on that bit. Katie Hammond agreed with the call from the minority that there should be a probe and then possible resignation. It's just the majority leader who disagreed, but the Speaker was emphatic that as far as he is concerned, Parliament is the body that has all the representatives of the people coming together, whether it's a private institution, whether it's a business organization that's aligned to FIFA, as long as they are operating within the precincts of the Republic of Ghana, Parliament has that oversight role over how they should undertake the activities. And unlike what we've seen previously, which is usually decisions when it comes to setting up committees have been crafted right from the boardroom, if I could put it, the Speaker's chamber, and brought to the floor. This doesn't look like that. This was more like a spontaneous call, and so no one was clear on who the representatives on the committee will be, how many members will be on the committee, and it documented terms of reference for this particular committee. That wasn't clear. It looks like those decisions will be taken subsequently.
So do we know when this committee is supposed to start work?
Not yet. So when the Speaker suggested that he would want to set up the committee, earlier Muntaka Mubarak, the chief whip on the minority side, has said he felt a 7-member committee would do because the Youth and Sports Committee, which has about 22 members, there are too many of them. There was the response from the Speaker who said he needed a 5-member committee. He eventually asked that both the majority and the minority side, they present their list. And this is how it's supposed to work. Looking at the proportions and the ratios, if it's a 7-member committee, we should have 3 from the minority, 4 from the majority. If it's a 5-member committee, 2 from the minority, 3 from the majority. But even after the Speaker had said that I would want to see a 5-member committee, and he asked the minority for their list, Muntaka Mubarak gave him 3 members from the minority side. Ras Mubarak, the Kumbungu MP, James Agalga, the Buta South MP, and Kwesi Amwate, who is a member of the Constitution and Legal Affairs Committee. The majority leader said that he needed to do some additional consultation.
He opposed the idea in the first place.
Exactly the case.
Yes.
Exactly the case. That needs to be put on record that he did. But he said that he needed to do some more consultation. In fact, he raised an issue with the very process in which the Speaker had gone ahead to give a ruling. He felt that the issue needed to come as a formal motion on the floor. This was just a spontaneous talk that resulted in the setting of the committee, and he quoted portions of the standing orders of Parliament. So Muntaka Mubarak had to reverse the process and move a motion officially for the Speaker to then rule and for the House to adopt that particular motion. So yes, he opposed it initially, but he says they would have to do some additional consultation on who the members will be. And for now, you are not sure whether it will be a 7-member committee or a 3-member committee. Looks like in the days ahead
so
we'll get to
there are several factors that are determining the formation of this committee. It looks like the committee has just been formed in name. We don't know the terms of reference yet. We don't know the membership. We don't even know the number that's going to form this particular committee as we speak today.
Yes. So
what happens to the minority members already proposed? Will they have to have their number or keep it at that level? Because they perceive it's going to be around 7.
Yes. The minority thinks it should be 7. Then they would have the 3. The Speaker thinks it should be 5. So then the decision eventually was, as indicated, this came out spontaneously on the floor and the decision had to be taken, but they will now go back into the chambers and come to a decision detailing the specific terms of reference. We broadly, per the suggestions that came up on the floor, they were being asked to investigate how corrupt activities came up as has been captured in this particular video and recommend possible remedies so Ghana football is not affected in the end. But broadly, those are the terms of reference. And they will now go craft the final bits of who the members would be, particularly from the majority side, who we don't have an indication yet who exactly would be on that particular committee.
Has the Committee on Sports, Youth Sports and Culture, have they ever invited the GFA president to any of their meetings? Have they probed him in times past? Is that committee shares with authority to supervise, like they do oversight over several government institutions, the GFA too?
Usually when conversations come up around the budget for the various ministries, departments and agencies, particularly under the Ministry for Youth and Sports, and whether allocations need to be made to them, whether for you know, the activities and all. Those are the occasions when we've seen situations of, at the level of the committee, officials of the GFA accompanying officials of the Ministry for Youth and Sports to come sit down at that level and have a conversation and when it comes to budgeting. But in recent memory, none that I really remember in terms of them probing such issues. It's really not come up yet. You'd recall that when the issue came up with the money being flown to Brazil and having to do with situations of Ghana not performing well at the previous World Cup. Yes, a lot of conversation happened at the level of the committee trying to recommend suggestions to this, and eventually a bit of that came up onto the floor. But in the form of a formal probe, looks like this will be the first time that we see in Parliament as an institution do something.
There's
like
an interesting development surrounding all of this. The CID is still probing a section of this particular tape. But of course, Mr. Nyanteji has given a statement to the CID. The Deputy Rose Minister has also given a statement to the CID on this particular one. Was the Parliament minded that this case is equally being probed at that level?
So I sought answers on that from the leadership of Parliament as to what this means for all the probes that are ongoing, particularly at the level of the CID. And they drew examples with how cases of, you know, alleged abuse of people and sexual misconduct and all come up on the floor of Parliament for discussions when MPs read statements and all. And it's still referred to committees of Parliament to investigate, regardless of the criminal procedure that's ongoing. So they make the point that we can expect that there will in no way interfere with the process. There will be the criminal probe with the end in sight to what exactly will happen there. But as an institution of Parliament, they would want to make recommendations on how to remedy the situation and to avoid a repeat and ensure that Ghana regains its glory as a good football nation. And that's where they would want their focus to be. They won't interfere with any of the other processes.
There are two people that I'm interested in what is said or probably could have said about this. The chairman of the Youth Sports Committee, Alex Ajikum, and also his ranking member. Did they have any say at all on this matter?
So the interesting bit is that when that conversation itself was ongoing,
yeah.
I don't remember spotting the chairman of the committee in the chamber,
okay.
and then the ranking member either. So none of them actually passed comments on this. This was a conversation that was limited to the MP who raised its leadership, and then Katie Hammond was allowed to throw in a few ideas on how the way forward should be.
So now we don't know when to expect them to start work.
No, but the interesting bit is this, that when the majority leader was insisting that some time should be given for the committee to be established and for him to propose who those on the committee would be, he indicated that it could be as early as tomorrow as to members from his side then being thrown in. So the expectation is that hopefully tomorrow, as he suggested, by then they would have done all the background conversations and agreed on the specific terms of reference, agreed on the members, and hopefully tomorrow we'll see an official announcement on when this committee is expected
to start their work. It's interesting. My last question is related to what we are hearing, that there's a possible dissolution of the GFA in the offing. Did that ever come up at all in the conversation in Parliament?
So this is something that some members of Parliament had previously demanded.
Okay.
The member of Parliament for the Adaklo constituency, Kwame Agboja, had made that demand, that he felt with everything that had come up in the tape, it brought the name of Ghana football into disrepute. He said that there's been situations of government interference in the affairs of the Nigerian Football Association, for example, leading to a FIFA ban. Okay. But in the end, the ultimate result was that 2 years after the ban, Nigeria has resurrected, and now they are playing at the World Cup, and their football is being managed better. So Kwame Agboja made a specific call on the president that he would want him to intervene in this, dissolve the Ghana Football Association. If FIFA bans the country, it shouldn't be a problem. He thinks it will be for the good, because what that would mean is that once the system is sanitized and all the right mechanisms are put in place, in the next year or two, GFA will be back on solid footing. So yes, some MPs are pushing for that, the GFA be dissolved, the league possibly be suspended, and necessary reforms should then be rolled out eventually. Then all those activities will be brought back.
Many thanks to you for that comprehensive report. So what you should know now is that Parliament is a separate committee. The fine details of the committee, we understand maybe tomorrow we'll get them. But what we know for a fact is that it is intending to probe what is perhaps the biggest issue in Ghana today. The canker that was exposed yesterday at the Ghana Football Association, and the follow-up from that particular incident, we understand. And we'll be giving you some more detail of this particular developing story. But Gapa will leave us. When we come back, the MPs will join us to justify their conduct earlier today, and they will actually be telling us why they went this way and what the way forward is for some who serve on this particular committee, and former ministers too, on how to deal with the GFA. Some proposing dissolution already in the offing. We shall be dealing with all of that after this break. Welcome back. This is Upfront. My name is Raymond Akwa. So the latest development I was hinting you about is that government has dissolved the Ghana Football Association. So I'll read verbatim the statement issued by the Information Minister, and it says government wishes to express its outrage at the contents of the latest announced documentary titled Number 12. When misconduct and greed become the norm, the documentary exposes the gross malfunctioning of the GFA as a result of widespread rot, fraud, corruption, and bribery. The government has therefore come to the conclusion that the Ghana Football Association, GFA, as presently constituted, is not fit for purpose. To this effect, government has decided as follows. 1. That all officials shown in the video to be involved in alleged criminal acts are hereby interdicted. Their conduct is referred to the police for further investigation and appropriate action. Having regard to the widespread nature of these alleged criminal acts involving top GFA officials, top NSA officials, match commissioners, administrators, and referees, the government hereby dissolves the Ghana Football Association. Government will soon announce interim measures to ensure the continuity of the game of football in Ghana. The decision will be communicated to CAF and FIFA and engage with them on these developments and the way forward for Ghana football. Government wishes to convey to the general public its full commitment in sanitizing sports by undertaking the necessary reforms with the agency. And Mustafa Abdul Hamid, PhD, Information Minister, actually issued this particular statement. So that's the latest there. A dissolution has already happened. Immediately a question comes to mind. Now, that question is whether or not government can do this. It looks like government is emboldened to say that we can even communicate to the institutions involved that this is going to happen. As I did tell you, parliamentarians will be my guest here today. But a former Minister of Sports is also with me here. The current chairman of the Youth Sports and Culture Committee is also with me here. The Honorable Alex Kofi Ajikum is the chairman of the Youth Sports Committee. Also here is the Honorable Mahama Yarega. He's been Minister of Environment before, but sports is what we want to concentrate on now. So when he puts on his sports cap, maybe I would appeal to your legal, what they call it, brains to, your Harvard-trained legal brains to come to this appreciation. The government of the Republic of Ghana has dissolved the Ghana Football Association. A decision Nigeria took some time ago and got on some trouble or banned for a couple of years. Is this step the right step in the right direction?
The direction, I don't know, but the step legally has problems. But, you know, I think that government has been carried away by the public outcry in response to what people have seen on tape. And clearly a lot of people are feeling very outraged, and rightly so. I haven't still viewed the video. Yes, I was hoping that when there's less pressure, then I will go and then also view. But I've had all the discussions, people who I took briefings from a colleague MP who saw everything and gave me detail, even before, honestly, the previewing. So I know what is there from third parties. But to dissolve the GFA is something else, because the GFA is an association of certain individuals in Ghana. They have their constitution, they have their statutes, and etc. I don't know of any law in Ghana that gives the president of Ghana the power to dissolve a private association. There's no such law that I know.
Even if it's ridden with massive fraud, corruption, and all of the ills that can actually a state, not a state institution, any institution can be involved in.
Yes, so you take the corruption out, you take the fraud out, but leave the organization.
When the cancer is eating deep to every section of this institution.
Well, the point is that this is an association, and you deal with the issues in the association, but you don't take measures that in law you yourself don't have the authority to do. If the GFA members go to court, they will win the case.
Even if it's a temporal decision, you two think it's not in the right direction?
Under our constitution, see, you must remember that we operate under a constitutional dispensation, which gives people the right to form an association. The only association you cannot form is an association where your objective is to propagate ideas that are treasonable, okay? That is harmful to the state. So if you are not propagating those ideas, if you are form an association to run football, if it turns out that there is evidence of corruption by members of the association, the first part of the statement, which is that all the evidence should be forwarded so that the police should take up the measure. That's the right measure to take. Okay. But to go beyond that and now say you have dissolved the association, you must show the legal basis. What law gives you the authority to dissolve a privately formed association? So, but you know, it looks like a populist thing to do now because everybody is angry with some people in the GFA. People have forgotten that the GFA is bigger than the over 100 people that we have captured on tape. The GFA is bigger than that number. So even if there were one honest member left and two people refused to take money when they offered them the money. So those two people are people of integrity in the organization. If they get up and go to court and say, look, I'm in this organization, my life is this organization, I was offered money, I refused. Government has no right to ban this organization whilst I still remain in that organization. I'm very confident that the Supreme Court will tell government in the face that no.
How about if the decision in this case is to take steps to dissolve it? not an outright directive, but to say that we will go through a process that may eventually end in this particular case?
This afternoon, your station called me, and this matter was discussed, and I said no. Whatever action that needs to be taken will be twofold. One, the criminal matters that are captured on tape. The state may decide they want to investigate the crimes further and prosecute the people who are suspected to have committed the crimes. The second has to do with the organization, is the GFA as an organization. The members of the association, they have a constitution. The constitution has a position on bribery. The organization has the constitution has a provision on fraud, on misconduct.
Certainly.
So you need to encourage them within the organization to activate these measures.
There's a paragraph in the statement which is very instructive. It says, having regard to the widespread nature of the apparent rot involving top GFA officials, top National Sports Authority officials, match commissioners, football administrators and referees, government has decided to take immediate steps to have the GFA dissolved.
Why are they not dissolving the National Sports Authority?
Well, interesting.
Why Sports Authority? And why have you chosen only one group to dissolve?
So government has taken immediate steps to get the institution dissolved. Again, it says government will shortly thereafter announce provisional measures to govern football activity in the country until a new body is duly formed. Honorable,
the second part about government taking steps. Government could come to Parliament and present to Parliament proposal for the enactment of legislation governing football. If we pass that legislation, then that will now begin to govern. And
would that be able to govern an association too?
Yes, we can pass laws governing associations. Under our constitution, you can make, you can pass laws to govern associations. And in fact, the constitution says that those associations must be run along democratic lines and etc. So there are express constitutional provisions that relate to governing professional bodies and etc. that Parliament can pass legislation to deal with. So that one is not a problem. But as we speak, there's no specific law giving government that power. And the Constitution does not give government that power. So to the extent that there is no constitutional provision vesting government with those powers, and there's no act of Parliament vesting government with those powers, they cannot take those actions.
Steps to dissolve it?
No, they cannot take steps to dissolve it. They cannot dissolve it. They have to come to Parliament, and they haven't come to Parliament. They would rather have to convince members of the association to take those actions against their individual members pursuant to their regulations. But then the matters that are purely criminal, taking bribes and all those things, those are matters that government can prosecute the people who we have evidence of taking those bribes.
Okay, I get your point. Let me now come to the Honorable Chairman of the Youth Sports and Culture Committee, Honorable Alex Kofi Ejekum. There was massive outcry. I went to watch it. I mean, many were worried about the content of this documentary, and they demanded blood. I heard what they call it, some commentary. People who have been in football administration, people right from Nyaho Tamaklo through to the former immediate past Minister of Youth and Sports, Nilan Tivana, are all saying that the current state of the union, the association, is terrible. You ought to break it down and reform it from the ground level. Government heeded to this particular somewhere. It said it's taking steps to make sure that the problem is fixed, but it looks like the lawyers are having difficulties with that.
Well, I believe that, yes, the lawyers will always look at things from their legal perspective. But any Ghanaian who has followed the trend and the issues of GFA until now will agree that they've come to the point where they have lost control of issues, be it their own governance system or the issues involving the criminal aspect, which all of us watched. Yesterday I was there to watch the film, and the question that I'm asking myself that this is an expose. We've seen in the video a clear-cut manifestation of the corruption.
Yeah.
The manner.
I mean, some are contesting the clear-cut part, but I mean, to be fair, yes, yes. I'm sure that's why the police had to probe this matter.
Yeah, I agree that.
But from what you saw, it was
apart from watching the images.
Yes.
There is always the need to transpose the images into legal sentences that are chargeable.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because until those things that we see in the pictures, the lawyers are able to, use it to put it into a legal terms based on whether the laws of the land or some precedents or whatever. The lawyer is here. He will tell us more.
Okay.
For them. But what I'm saying is that if, for example, these things that are in the public domain, referees collecting bribes, match commissioners compromising their position, if things are allowed to go on business as usual and there is a match and genuinely a referee makes an incorrect decision,
okay,
what will be the implication?
The people will presume that he was bribed.
That is
People
that.
have been bribed. But is that presumption not there all the time?
It's there, but here we are. There has been a further emphasis on it by people seeing the modus operandi.
Okay.
And so now there is this thing at the back of their mind. Oh, really? That is what actually happens. Okay. And then we allow things, sweep the whole thing on the carpet, presume as if nothing has happened. Business as usual, they go. And then something happens. Remember, May 9th was because of somebody's decision, a referee decision, that ended up the loss of life. So I think that, yes, it is a limited liability company governed by their own rules over there. But the government also has a very high stake in the affairs of the GFA. This is not a Korea coup or some association that we have formed to distribute some soft loans among ourselves. It's an association that we are conducting a certain business, a certain activity on behalf of this country.
Okay, but let me bring your attention to a very unpopular
yes.
case. There is this case, Daniel Roxon versus GFA. In fact, the court held that the GFA is a voluntary association, even though it may receive subventions or grants from the National Sports Authority under Section 4(1)(I) of the Sports Act 1976 SMCD 54. The statutes of the GFA is definitely not an act of parliament, and nothing in the statutes of the GFA made it its Congress on December 2005 suggests that the GFA is a statutory body, nor were its statutes made under the authority or power conferred by the Constitution. The crux of the matter and the court's ruling was that governments, by all indications, cannot interfere and intervene in the affairs of the GFA. Indeed, they made exceptions that if there are criminal acts, ought to be dealt with differently, which has been suggested here too. So when you say that because of the stakes involved, they can get in, it seemed to contradict established law in this case.
It is not contradicting. You have stated this, and that is the nexus. Okay?
Okay.
That is where we are all taking our argument from.
I get you.
For the fact that there is some aspect of criminality which gives exception to whatever statute, whatever ruling that you have given to us. There is that exception. Cases bordering on criminality, you cannot hide behind the fact that you are an independent association and you go scot-free.
Yes.
So that's what we are dealing with. And we are dealing with it in such a way that, yes, independent association, you are not completely autonomous.
Okay.
You draw on the budget of the taxpayer or the consolidated fund.
Yeah, they can give subventions or
that is that.
The
and
grants.
Then the minister will tell us, you see that all the national teams, from the junior to the senior level, female, male, anytime that they are going out, you look at the amount of money that the government spent on their bonuses, their airfares, etc. There can't be an association that quantum of money every year is spent on them, and then we allow things to go the way we like. So I have just stated that because of the fact that there is a potential explosion, people's emotions have been aroused.
Oh no, I want a very direct answer to this question. Can government take steps to dissolve the GFA?
That is exactly what they have done. But
Is it right?
I have a difficulty.
I mean, you are chairman of the committee. I'm asking whether it is right.
I think that in the circumstances is right.
It's right.
Yes.
It is justified by the circumstances.
Yes. What I'm not clear about it,
Yeah.
and let us all be clear about that one. The government is not dissolving the entity called GFA, that they should not be existent. I don't know. I have not read that extent.
Okay.
Maybe my understanding is that the current maybe executives or those people that have been
Forgive me
found.
for the avoidance of doubt.
Yes.
Let me
read that portion and let me.
The second paragraph says that having regard to the widespread nature of the apparent rot involving top GFA officials, top NSA officials, match commissioners, football administrators, and referees, government has decided to take immediate steps to have the GFA dissolved.
Okay.
It says the GFA dissolved.
Yes.
And proceeds to say that government will shortly thereafter announce provisional measures to govern football activity in the country until a new body is formed.
Until a new body
is formed.
So the new body that is likely to be formed will not be called GFA.
I don't know, but
so that's my difficulty. That's my
I'm trying to get your difficulty.
Yes, that's my difficulty,
But
because if it's a question of the constituents, the people that are involved, then that one, yes, I understand it. But if it's a question of
the GFA itself,
the GFA, the name
structure,
GFA,
entity,
the structure, the Ghana Football Association, maybe they're going to dissolve it and call it another new name with a
and if
new
I can quote the Supreme Court, the voluntary organization called Ghana Football Association.
So that is that. But I want to believe that the spirit and letter, probably we are reading according to, but to me, the spirit of what we have just read is the fact that the current executive, the people that constitute the Ghana Football Association, because of the criminality which has made them morally incapacitated.
I have a difficulty. The minister says that the GFA has been dissolved. His statement says that it has been dissolved.
Okay.
You seem to have a different interpretation of what this statement is supposed to be.
Because until
do you disagree with this?
I don't disagree in principle about
do you
the people.
disagree with the dissolution of the GFA itself or the non-removal of those people at the top?
No. Right now, you are trying to tell me that the word GFA is dissolved. So a new body.
Oh, no. The GFA is a body. It's actually an institution.
Yes.
The institution, as stated here, if I don't even put any interpretation on it, the minister says right now that yes, indeed, it has been dissolved.
Okay, let's move away from that particular. Yes,
you seem not to agree with the decision in principle.
No, I agree.
Because to you, a better interpretation would have been
a
better interpretation would have been that we have cleared the people at the top and we are reforming it. That's what a better interpretation of it
is. My understanding.
Executive committee.
If you say that a particular body, I have scraped off that particular association, and then maybe the statement they may come out with, and that I'm not going to form a new body, that means that the association, the voluntary association called GFA, should not be existent any longer. Huh?
You are ridiculing the decision.
No, I'm not ridiculing. Please don't get me wrong. But that is my understanding of the whole thing. Because if you are saying that you're going to take measures to form a new body, then I want to believe that probably the understanding that I'm getting is that a body that will be formed may not be called
GFA or an interim GFA.
That is that.
Okay, I get your point.
So if it's going to be an interim committee,
then you understand it.
I understand that, yes, because of ABCD, which has happened to the body, all of you clear off from A to Z. An interim committee or an interim association is going to be formed, and then we will see how best things will roll out.
I have a couple of questions for you too.
Before you come that's my difficulty. Maybe I have to take time and read the sentence over
this statement is very clear, with a great respect.
because
I have a couple of questions related to this.
Yes.
Parliament not long ago set up a probe.
Yes.
Even before you finish your probe, the institution you are going to probe has been dissolved. So what's going to happen?
No. No, we have not set it up. Today I was in Parliament.
Oh, are you sure you were there?
I was there. I saw you come late. I was there.
Honorable, yes.
The issue is that a motion has been moved.
Yeah.
the intent is that we're going to have a committee set up.
So what's the Speaker's specific directive?
The Speaker's specific, we have accepted in principle that committee is going to be.
There are a lot of principles that I don't understand in this case.
Yes.
Okay, so you said that it's just a decision in principle, not actualized.
No, the Speaker directed that the two leaders, the both sides, should go and sit down and even come and inform Parliament about the composition.
Okay, I get your point.
I
have no difficulties with that. I'm just saying that this decision by government, does it render moot your decision in Parliament? Because I've been asking myself, what are you going to review really? What are you going to probe? What will this committee be doing when the institution itself doesn't have life anymore?
Yes, what I understood the whole thing is that Parliament as an institution operates independently. We don't look at the back and see what decision the executives are taking before we take.
The minister says Kwesi Nyantakyi is no longer president of the Football Association. Are you in the capacity to call a former president who is sitting somewhere? Is he also mandated to come and respond to you as Parliament?
Well, this is a question that is difficult to answer.
Okay, I have a couple of questions I want you to answer for me too. What happens to the local league?
That is why I'm saying that this statement which has come out, I want to believe that it's going to be an unfolding story.
The statement,
there is some consequential decision that will have to come out. Because if you are saying that you have dissolved the GFA,
the question we will put in plans.
That's why I'm saying that there is going to be an unfolding story. Some additional information will come out. What happens to the league that you are asking me? I was not there. I was not part of the executive that took that decision. So going forward, probably by tomorrow we will get to know what is going to
of that. But you are not consulted. As the chairman of the committee in Parliament.
This is a cabinet decision. I want to believe.
Okay.
And today is Thursday, and then they still, as at the time that we are coming from Parliament, I know that Thursday cabinet meets.
Right. So these are questions I'm sure you want to clear out.
Yes. Additional information will come out.
I am confused about what has happened now. It sounds to me like government is saying we are going to dissolve. The minister is categorically saying that we have dissolved. This from the statement and the differences. The chairman of the committee is of the opinion that the best they can do is to replace the top hierarchy of the GFA. Is there any doubt in your mind about what has happened right now?
Well, I mean, like I said, there's no doubt in my mind about what has happened now. What has happened now is a total illegality. That is not in doubt, so far as my knowledge of the law is concerned. That is not to say
even if it's an intent to act, to say we take steps to dissolve.
That is not to say that I endorse anything that is on the tip. Are you getting the point?
Okay, I get you.
So, but then you see, when there's a crisis, we tend to be carried away by emotions because of the crisis. But some of us, no matter the crisis, we try to be sober and we look at the matters as they are. We decipher the issues and then figure out by law how to deal with which issue.
Okay.
And that is why I'm taking this position. It may not be a popular position.
Okay.
People may be out there crying, oh, damn the GFA, kill the GFA.
Heads must rule.
Heads must rule. Yes, heads should rule. The heads should rule in accordance with due process, in accordance with our constitution, in accordance with our laws. And so, in relation to this matter, government itself is engaged in a huge PR job because, you see, don't throw dust into our eyes. In that tape, there are issues about the government itself. There are statements that
the president categorically denied. The vice president categorically denied.
Precisely. So there are issues about the government itself. There are issues about the president. There are issues about the vice president. There are issues about ministers. There are issues about how government is managing itself. That clearly is not born. There's no evidence on the tape to prove any of those things. But statements have been made about the government itself, which will require that we should find out whether those statements are indeed true or not.
So what's the way forward?
So you can't, throw dust into our eyes by coming out and be on the overdrive by dissolving the GFA. I do agree that this is a crisis situation. What we have seen, should make us sit up as a country. But whether or not the approach is to just dissolve the GFA, because you don't have the power to dissolve the GFA. I mean, if you say tomorrow we are forming an association of who? Of people at the Flagstaff House? Is it people at the Flagstaff House? Association of who? Because this is an association of football clubs
and administrators.
And administrators.
Yes.
And they have their framework, how they operate, and etc. Yeah. They have come together. If tomorrow you go and sit at the Flagstaff and say, oh, I have formed a new association, nobody comes there. So we have a league and nobody is participating in your league. Have you formed an association?
The other question, and I'm asking about the way forward because I'm running out of time.
Yeah, you may have issues with Yantechi, you may have issues with the people that you have seen there. But Yantechi and those people are not the people who make up GFA. GFA is bigger than that. Yantechi grew up and saw GFA. Yantechi will leave GFA. All the people who were caught on tape, referees and etc., they are just actors within the organization. The organization is bigger. Yeah. So I think that Parliament, you know, we in Parliament raised the issue about Yantechi resigning. Some people say Yantechi should resign. And in Parliament, the MPs, to some extent, said, well, by law, since it's a private organization,
you couldn't go
we cannot force the person to resign, but we can appeal to him to resign. You were in, I was in the chamber.
There, yes.
So we said we could appeal to him that he should resign. And he himself, looking at the situation, may decide that he wants to resign. But we can't legally force him to resign. But we can appeal to members of the association to take action because their conduct has damaged the reputation of the country. And as a Parliament, we can probe into all the things that have happened. And the reason why we normally will probe is so that we can be guided to enact new legislation governing such conduct.
Okay, Honorable, what I hear you saying is that put on hold your dissolution, which you consider illegal. Let Parliament probe the matters. Let the other state institutions go ahead with their probe, and let's get to the bottom of the matter that way. Is that what you're proposing?
Well, I mean, some people have issues even with the Parliament probing the matter. The reason is that they argue, and quite rightly so, that past probes haven't produced the kind of results that the public think should be the natural outcome of those probes. So even on my way here, I was listening to radio, and some media houses, I heard people, you know, angry that why should there be a probe? These are criminal matters. They should strictly be punishing them. So the first part of the statement, that the police should move in and quickly apprehend all those who are on the tape, who are seen engaged in one malfeasance or the other, and then take action against them. The next thing is invite maybe the GFA, whatever is left of the organization. If you have arrested all these other people that are on the tape, whatever is left of the organization, invite them and say, look, you know, you manage two things. See, people always say, oh, GFA, and then they see the Black Stars angle, and then the national teams angle. Apart from national teams, they manage the local leagues.
The question I asked about what's the status of that?
Yeah, and those ones
and it's ongoing, actually.
Yeah, those ones are not government organizations. So if you have issues, invite them, say, look, in your management of government, you know, national teams, this is how you have conducted yourself. We don't accept it. These are not acceptable. At the same time, the people who are caught on tape, those people are being punished in a court or being prosecuted. So if they're found guilty, then they can be punished. This is how you go about it. I hear people talk about, you know, they take government money. GFA as an organization doesn't take government money. No, GFA as an organization does not take government money. GFA as an organization also manages government teams, national teams. So it is money meant for the welfare of your own national team. And I know that this is not a popular thing to say now, but you know me, I don't say things because they are popular. I say things because they are right. I used to have that position until I went to the ministry, and I realized that to some extent, government itself, I mean, we probably allow the things that happen to happen. For instance, you take JNPC, and JNPC decides that we are giving GFA, you know, was it $7 million or something per annum to support football? Well, if you decide that you are granting money to them to support football, they will take it. Once it's a grant, they take it. So don't complain, because you have decided that you are giving them a grant. The second thing is that when the Office of the President approves monies for national teams to go on tournaments, usually it is the ministry that follows the GFA and administers
the money. Okay.
So GFA can technically argue that no, we don't take your money. You bring your money,
and
you
come
pay
and distribute
your
money.
footballers, and you distribute to those who you have decided that you want to distribute the monies to. I know this is not a popular thing to say at this time because of all the perceptions out there, but when we are doing a proper analysis, let's be factual, let's be honest, let's do it with some integrity. What has happened is terrible.
Yes.
It will damage the reputation of Ghana internationally. I mean, it will result in people having absolutely no confidence in the whole institution of football and the business of football. People going to the stadium next weekend to watch football, be wondering whether that
I have to interrupt you because I have a few minutes left.
Yes.
Let me get response on this particular issue. The Honourable says that the way forward actually in this particular case is to let the first strand of your decision hold, do the investigations, let the GFA, asking what's left of the GFA, come up with a decision on how to run these institutions, and forget about intent to dissolve, dissolution, or potential dissolution in the future. Do you agree? What's your own way forward?
I think that I stated this thing right from the beginning, that to me, the statement which has been issued is in the right direction. If you look at the situation now, what we have to avert is a potential explosion of emotions because of what people have seen.
Okay.
So government immediately will have to take steps. You cannot allow the very people that these things have been leveled against them to continue to be at the helm of affairs. And that is why initially I was thinking about the fact that yes, government has taken this decision. He's not taking the decision to leave everything in a vacuum. If they don't follow it up to say that maybe the local league is suspended, then it means that there should be some people at the helm of affairs.
At the GFA?
Yes.
Yeah.
To continue. Whatever name that those people who will be there will be named, that one is a matter for them to come out with. But I think that we cannot leave things in a limbo.
Okay.
The league will have to continue if we so all decide. And so nobody should fault the government for
this decision.
This particular decision.
The decision deemed illegal.
Whether it's illegal or not legal, that is.
But that's a very substantive issue.
Yeah, it's a substantive issue. But you see, this is an emergency
our government
situation.
cannot act illegally on our behalf.
This one is not acting illegally.
But emergency does not suspend laws. It doesn't suspend rules. It doesn't suspend
this is something
the procedure.
that borders on criminality.
I get you.
People have been found indulging in an act that contravenes our laws of the land.
I'm told I have to round up now. Forgive me, Honorable Ayaga. You've been at the what do you call it, the ministry before. Were you expecting this particular what do you call it expose?
Well, I mean, this kind of expose comes as a big surprise because of the meticulousness and the effort to gather the evidence. But the things that are contained in the tape, they are things that people in football know has been.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much. Except you have something small to add. I'm going now.
Yes, I know. I want to believe that the action that the government has taken is just a first step in sanitizing the whole system.
I get you.
So please, let us all just cooperate and ensure that things move in the direction that we all want.
Look, let me just say that something needs to be done, but let's be mindful of the law and the constitution.
I get you. The Honourable Alex Kofi Ajekum is the chairman of the Youth Sports and Culture Committee of Parliament, former Minister of Sports, is also a member of Parliament. The Honourable Mahama Yaga were my guests on UPfront today. Thanks for watching us.